really quickly here, let's look at how we can iterate or navigate through a map similar to what we did using a collection before. So inside of a map, I can navigate through many ways of looking at the data. I can look through all the keys, I can look through all the values, or most likely I'm going to want to look through key value pairs. I would only deal with the keys if for some reason the set means something, or the values alone, I guess I could, but I don't know why you'd be storing them in a map at that point. But there's options for all those inside of code. But as an example, I can go through and iterate through the keys by just going through and getting a key set and iterating through that using the normal Java stuff. I can also pull an iterator, all the things we learned about that. But inside of the map, you can see there's a method called keySet. And so once I have the keys, then I can go through and print just the keys as I am in this case. Or I can do key values by going to get the keys and then looking up each value. Now remember, if you do that, essentially what it's saying is, I'm going to go to the store, ask the clerk to say, hey, go tell me all of the tags you have on the shelves. Okay, thank you. Bring those to me. And then I go through them and say, okay, now go get me a cantaloupe. Now go get me a bicycle. Now go get me socks. And then I'm having that person walk back and forth each time I want to go ask for that. It's very inefficient to do it that way. So I would not iterate through the keys like this unless I truly only cared about the keys. More likely what I would end up doing is I would be dealing with a set of map.entry objects. And so what this does is goes to the map and say, hey, go through all of your keys and return to me all of the key value sets. So when I do this in a tree map, it would return back to me a sorted map based off of the comparator rules that you would implement. And then I would see that comparator rules coming back through A through Z, Z through A, 1 through 10, 10 through 1, whatever the rules would have inside of there. That's what I would see coming out of the map. In a hash map, I'd be getting whatever random order these things happen to be in. Going through the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, however many they're broken up by, there's no guarantee that I get either A, any consistent order, or B, the same order each time. You could run the same program 2 times in a row and end up with slightly different order based off of the way the map's running. It could be somewhat randomized inside of there. So, because sometimes the order they get put in matters as well. So we have to be careful there about what we expect out of this, but this does give us the entry set. Again, map.entry. And I put this in a couple lines so you can see very clearly a map.entry can be iterated through because it is a set of these guys there. So this set of entries can be iterated through. And from the map.entry, there's a method inside of this interface, key and get value. And so these are both part of this entry. Now we saw this map.entry when we talked about the way we structure and live within a tree set or a hash map. It's the object that represents both of them. They're stored together, so it's really easy to deal with this. Notice map.entry sort of kind of looks like a package structure. It's not. It's what's called an inner class. Sometimes you might hear the phrase anonymous inner class. This is the opposite. This is a known inner class. But it's a class defined within another class. It's a public class, but I can only define it within the context of a map. I can only build it within the context of a map. So that's why it's map.entry. You don't have an entry on its own without a map. It can't exist without a map. So think of it like, your lungs. You can't have your lungs without the rest of your body. You have Tony.lungs, Tony.heart. Same sort of thing. It's built of this. And so the map needs the entry needs the map, and so they're defined together. But after that, after the map.entry, it acts just like a normal class. I have methods on it. I can go get data. I can go print data. And so then I can go through and get key value pairs. So this is the way I navigate through the maps. Looking through the values, again, there's also a way to get values, just treat it as a set. It's mostly stuff we learned on dealing with iterators. You can use an iterator directly, the iterator object we talked about, or in this case, the easier way is to loop through it using the fancy for loop and being able to get data that way, but know that the map entry is the key to looking at most of the data inside of a map.